I can spell almost anything. See?
Boo!
I'm sorry. Let me start over. At college, I was one of the only students ever to get a 100 on an essay by a notoriously difficult professor. While others dropped out, I got a 100 three more times. Yet, when the waitress delivers my food and says, "Enjoy," I say, "Thanks, you too." When the movie guy gave me my tickets and said to enjoy the movie, I said, "Thanks, you too." There's a lot of misconceptions about intelligence and what it even is. People try to reduce it to a single thing, but that's just not how it works. So, let's go over the accepted science around intelligence and how this relates to trading. And, by the way, if you clicked on this because you are having doubts about your ability to succeed, nonsense. The question is, do you have the patience and the drive to not give up? Our capacity to learn information doesn't matter if we don't have the motivation to carry on when we want to give up. People will brag about a high IQ, and people who get a low score will say that IQ is not a good measure of intelligence. Interpret that as you wish. I'm going to stick with the different kinds of intelligences that relate to trading, so we aren't going over social intelligence, even though that one is huge, and something I'm terrible at. There are a few others that won't be in this as well. Spatial intelligence is all about the capacity to reason about the movements of objects in space.
What?
How easy is it for you to visualize the exact route to something near you? Can you picture a three-dimensional object in your mind and easily rotate it? Many architects will have a building perfectly represented in their mind, and they can mentally adjust positions and structures in a way that is more advanced than most. Which one of the three shapes is the rotated version of the top shape? Pause now and I'll say the answer in 4 seconds. The middle one. Here's another. I'll answer it in 4 seconds. The middle one again. For some, this is easy. It takes me about 5 to 15 seconds for these ones, but these are fairly simple shapes. Once you start rotating 3D shapes with different colors and sizes, it gets pretty difficult for me. Now on to emotional intelligence, which I believe is the most important based on my experience of losing a couple $1,000s on one trade. We will go over 3 of the 4 sections of this: understanding emotional meanings and concepts, self-management of emotion, and the capacity of emotion to facilitate thought. For the sake of this video, we don't really care about the ability to read other people's emotions. Trading is introspective. Nobody cares about the ability to read emotions on someone's face in trading. We only really care about self-management and self-awareness. Can you control impulsive feelings and behaviors? When a trade goes poorly, are you aware of how these feelings might affect your judgment? Do you have the awareness to step away from the computer until you're in the right state of mind? This is about recognizing and being in tune with the interactions of your emotions on your thoughts and behaviors. All 3 of these affect each other, and being aware of their relationship is part of emotional intelligence. Do you understand your strengths and weaknesses? Emotional intelligence is cool because even if you aren't naturally like this, there are many solutions. Check in with yourself every 5 minutes or so to think about how you're feeling. This can be as easy as setting a reminder on your phone. Self-awareness can be a learned skill, unlike some of the other measures of intelligence where you either have it or you don't. I've talked about mindfulness a few times, but its potential to help in trading is underappreciated. I'll probably do a video on it. Certainly, we could just go over various aspects of life, problem solving, and our ability to perform at certain tasks, but there's also the idea of adaptation. Intelligence can also involve successful adaptation to life. This is more accurately described as the ability to effectively deal with the environment and the ability to deal with its challenges. Intelligence is pretty vague, and your ability to remember sequences of numbers doesn't matter very much if your inability to adapt has you bedridden. John Mill suffered with severe depression for months when he was young, which may have been because of an inability to adapt. He had an estimated IQ of 200. For perspective, that's about 40 higher than Einstein. Learning to trade is nothing but adaptation. We mess up, big deal. What will we do next time? How will we change our behaviors to be more adaptive? Maybe we need to start new habits and to get rid of old ones. Maybe we need to abandon old ways of thinking and to open our minds to different possibilities. Here's where it gets a little more interesting. I'm going to read a line out of a social psychology textbook, and then I will expand further on it. A fine education can often compensate for a less than fine intellect. Interesting. It doesn't matter how smart someone is because there's always more valuable information to learn from others. Your IQ stays mostly the same as you age, but for trading, the part of emotional intelligence that focuses on introspection can be learned. That's a large part of what the entire field of cognitive therapy is about. Fortunately, many of the measures of intelligence don't have much of an impact on learning how to trade. The psychology of trading is the most important part, and these things can be taught. That's the foundation of my channel. Does any of this even matter? I had some intelligences listed out here, but I decided to just delete them, and here's why. In trading, nobody cares about your reading comprehension. Nobody cares about your ability to move a shape in your head, to memorize a list of words, or to play the piano. I started this video with the intention of briefly going over the different categories, but you didn't go to school for psychology, so I'm not going to bore you to death with a lecture. Here's what actually matters. Anyone can be successful, and all that matters is not giving up, staying disciplined, and becoming comfortable with yourself, because trading is lonely. A lot of people hate being in their own head, particularly extroverts, so they fill their days with things to do. Let me ask you this. How comfortable would you be if you were forced to stay in a room with nothing to do for 12 hours? No books, no phone, no computer, nothing. Well, maybe a toilet. Would you be able to handle that? To me, that sounds great, but I know that opinion is not shared by everyone. Trading is lonely and you need to be okay with yourself. It's more than that, though. Without getting philosophical about existence or about the mind versus body, you can learn how to use awareness as a superpower. People don't make dumb trading mistakes because of logic. They do it because of emotions and psychology. And that's what my channel is about. We can overcome these problems. If a human can hike Mount Everest, I'm pretty sure we can stop losing because of FOMO. I'm not dismissing fear as a big obstacle, but it's important to put our problems into perspective so that we can understand how achievable our goals really are, as long as we don't give up. Thank you for listening to my TED Talk.